Are we truly alone? Or do we share this very planet with other sentient beings? Watching. Waiting. Are angels and demons standing right beside us at this moment in an alternate dimension we can't quite touch? Was there a great reset? And if so, was it orchestrated by ancient secret societies? And why? Why did so many of our oldest buildings end up buried beneath the earth? Grab a drink, pull up a seat, and come sit with me by the fire as we uncover the strange, the hidden, and the forbidden on Fireside Conspiracies. Hey everyone, welcome back into Fireside Conspiracies. I'm Nick, your host, and today I want to take a detour from secret societies, aliens, and moon landings to focus on a sports story that may have its own conspiracy. It's drawn my attention because it's happening right in my backyard, down the road in Lexington at the University of Kentucky. Now look, in the interest of full transparency, I'm a Louisville fan. But if you'll give me 30 seconds, I think I can convince you to excuse that flaw. I love college basketball, and I truly believe that Kentucky is the greatest college basketball program of all time. I'm not saying I'm happy about it, but to me, it's not even a debate. UCLA may have more titles, but that was mostly from an epic burst isolated in one era. Programs like Duke, UConn, and Kansas, even with all their success, are just doing their best UK impression. Kentucky's 8 championships, 17 Final Fours, 38 Elite Eights, and 45 Sweet 16s stretch all the way back to the 40s. The Big Blues' 2,400 plus wins and over 130 drafted NBA players sit atop all other colleges, and the passion of the millions of BBN fans is, in my opinion, unsurpassed in collegiate basketball. So believe me when I say this is not a hit piece on UK. If anything, this is about a devout fan base that has earned its place as the greatest tradition and an athletic director who may have betrayed the trust those fans placed in him. So grab a drink and pull up a seat by the fire as we open the Barnhart files. Okay, there's a bit to unpack here. We're going to walk through the scandals, the bad contracts, and the firings. We'll also touch on the controversial JMI partnership and Barnhart's reluctance with NIL. And, of course, the golden parachute we've all recently learned about. So, let's start with the swim team because that's where a lot of this unease begins. If you don't know, back in 2024, a lawsuit hit UK with allegations that former swim coach Lars Jorgensen had created a toxic environment. It included claims of harassment and even assault. Claims allegedly ignored. There's even some reports that emails possibly landed in the inbox of athletic director Mitch Barnhart, but nothing moved fast enough. So in 2025, Jorgensen gets a lifetime ban from Safe Sport, an organization that works towards preventing abuse, and UK's swim program ends up on an NCAA probation for overworking athletes. But here's the question. Mitch Barnhart is as well connected and tied in as they come. So when he hired Lars in 2012, was Mitch ignoring the warning signs from Jorgensen's time at Toledo? Right after UK announced Lars as associate head coach in June that year, Mark Howard, a former assistant swim coach at Toledo who had worked with Jorgensen, sent urgent emails to Mitch Barnhart and head swimming coach Gary Connolly. He said that Jorgensen could not be trusted around young women. Referenced a video showing an encounter with a swimmer who appeared to be incapacitated, and was quoted as saying, "I coached at Toledo for a year, then had to run away as fast as I could." These claims, along with others, have been cited in the 2024 lawsuit. So, why would Mitch take a chance like that? And for, of all programs, swimming? Not basketball or even football, but lowly SEC bottom feeder non-revenue swimming. Well, A lot of that respect Mitch earned from his peers came from his reputation as an all-sports director. The man built his legacy on elevating non-revenue sports across the board, and swimming is an Olympic staple. So it does seem plausible that Mr. Grace and Gratitude ignored warning signs to elevate his swimming program. Now, with that as a basis, we need to turn to basketball. In April of 2024, John Calipari was coming off a very disappointing first-round loss to Oakland. BBN was rightfully up in arms at the underachieving that was starting to feel too common for the Commonwealth's flagship university. But while Cal was feeling some pressure, we all know old bazooka holes loved being in Lexington. Yet, suddenly, late in the evening of April 7th and on into April 8th, rumors started to surface that Cal was finalizing a deal to leave for, of all places, Arkansas. Now, no offense to Nolan Richardson in the 40 Minutes of Hell, but John Calipari didn't leave for Duke. He didn't go to the Lakers. He didn't even leave to take over Team USA. The man virtually bolted from the Camelot of college basketball in the middle of the night for Fayetteville, Arkansas. You can say it was time to move on. That may be true. You can argue that Cal felt it was the right part of his life in general for a new adventure. That's fine. But a legend who works his way up through UMass, Memphis, then leads Kentucky back to glory, up and disappearing to Arkansas like a fart in the wind, looks more like Cal saw the writing on the wall and was willing to take the first train out of town. And I know there is some nuance to the contract and Cal flirting with other schools, but he officially resigned the next day on April 9th. It's not like this was drawn out at all. Also, on the 9th, we see UK reach out to their top targets like Baylor's Scott Drew and UConn's Dan Hurley. The next day, on April 10th, UK has talks with Drew and Hurley. Both these men had recruiting and tournament success, including national championships, the type of pedigree you would expect for the head coach of Kentucky. But on April 11th, both declined the offer, opting to stay at their respective schools. Now, it's only been 2 days since Coach Cal officially resigned. And even though the recruiting calendar can be brutal to late hires, the logical thing to do with so many successful coaches still out there, coaches at smaller schools with proven track records who would jump at the opportunity, is to broaden the search. Instead, word starts to slip out that all of Mitch's attention has turned to BYU coach Mark Pope, a man who had coached in a total of 2 tournament games, both of which he lost. And don't get me wrong, Pope had some modest success for an up-and-comer at Utah Valley and BYU. But juxtaposed with UK's top 2 candidates, it just doesn't track. The next day, on April 12th, UK finalizes a 5-year deal with the Wildcat alum, and in less than 96 hours, BBN witnessed Barnhart hand the keys to the kingdom over to Mark Pope. Coincidentally, another story broke that very same day. The lawsuit filed against swimming coach Lars Jorgensen and athletic director Mitch Barnhart. There are very few things that can drown out the noise of a lawsuit alleging female athletes are being abused by coaches. The circus I just outlined is one of them. Now look, there's no proof that I'm aware of that this was an engineered distraction. I'm just pointing out that the timing and circumstances are incredibly suspect. It's not hard to speculate that Barnhart possibly got word a few days before that the suit was coming. That's not uncommon in these situations. If he was wanting to distract BBN and the media from the swim program, he would now be on a tight timeline to get a new coach in place. And what do we see? After just a few days and whiffing on his top 2 candidates, he runs to his safety hire. A hire wrapped in denim nostalgia and telling the fans that it's their program again. A hire that realistically buys Mitch 2 years of cover before he tries Homer Simpsoning into the bushes of a cushy retirement. But we're not quite there yet. There's still football and those Mark Stoops contracts. And as a quick side note, yes, I do remember the Joker years, so I understand the positives of the Stoops era. And I won't pretend to be an expert on how these things are negotiated, but as I understand it, The extensions piled up, with big bumps in 2017, and that massive 22 deal that had auto rollovers finally pushing his salary up to $9 million a year. Now, I don't need to outline everything wrong with this picture because I'm sure most of you lived through it. And as I've been reminded over and over again, it's Stein time. But just a few points to add context. Mark Stoops led UK from 2013 to 2025. His overall record in 13 seasons was 82-80. And yes, as a Cardinal fan, I include any vacated wins. His record versus the SEC, 38-68. And against the top 25, Stoops was an abysmal 14-31. It gets worse against the top 10, but I'm not trying to pile on. I just want to set up the scenario. Even with this, we'll call it average success, in 2024 he was the 9th highest paid coach in the country. The 8 schools paying more than UK in ascending order were LSU, Alabama, Florida State, Ohio State, USC, Texas, Clemson, and Georgia. And those were the on-field issues. Outside of Commonwealth Stadium, Stoops had to deal with player arrests, suspensions, and legal issues, a theme that built over the years. And while I don't support vacating wins, there were NCAA violations and probation. I'm not trying to cast stones here. I'm just saying it doesn't make a lot of sense for the Hummus King to be clocking $9 million for his services. And frankly, it wasn't fair to BBN, who, as much as I hate to say it, rocked that stadium for him game after game. So why pay so much to a seemingly average coach? Was it just preemptive overpays to lock him down amid supposed interest from other schools? It is possible that Barnhart panicked, having finally stabilized the football program and hearing rumors of Nebraska, Auburn, and others sniffing around, jumped the proverbial gun. But, I mean, hey, who's ever heard of Jimmy Sexton floating rumors to get his coaches paid? That's just crazy. Was it incompetence? Many fans fully believe that Barnhart is simply an idiot when it comes to contract negotiations. But as far as we know, Mitch hasn't bankrupted the athletic department. In fact, over the course of his leadership, UK athletics has become one of the more financially stable and self-sufficient programs in major college sports, particularly considering it's not a traditional powerhouse in football. So I'm not sure I buy incompetence. How about hush money? There are theories that suggest the extensions were to keep Stoops quiet and maintain stability in the program during off-the-field issues. And with the closeness of their relationship, it's possible that Stoops knew about the heat coming from the swimming allegations these last 2 years, and after maintaining that stability, is now getting out of town with a modest $37.7 million thank you. Barnhart seems to value loyalty and cooperation. It's not crazy to think he was rewarding those things. That brings us to the JMI deal and Barnhart's love-hate, or possibly just hate-hate relationship with NIL. Mitch is old school. He does things by the book. Don't believe me? Just ask him. He's been very vocal about sticking to the NCAA rules, even rules that may exist one day. The idea is that he's trying to protect the school and the athletes. But in 2025, he extended UK's multimedia rights partnership with JMI through 2040. That's right, not 2030 and we'll see how the landscape is. 2040. There are kids in kindergarten right now that will be subject to that deal when they go to college. So, what's up with JMI? Well, officially, it's supposed to be about stability, sponsorship, and NIL through partners via the BBNIL suite. The problem is rumors that the structured terms, like signing away certain NIL rights and prioritizing partners, is possibly making it harder to close deals at UK than other schools. And recruiting struggles could reflect that. But while the idea of having a group of steady partners ready for players to meet with isn't bad, what bothers me is the idea that only these companies have access to UK's players. Yes, they can make deals outside of the suite, but they can't use UK's logos or IP, which slashes their value to those companies. It'd be like saying tobacco is legal to farm, but only by these 10 specific farmers. No one would go for that. But somehow, it seems Mitch may have locked UK into that NIL scenario for the next 15 years. Which finally brings us to the exit. Mitch announced his retirement as AD March 3rd, officially taking effect in June of 2026. At first, the fan reaction was positive, a feeling that it was time for him to move on and that the program could bring in someone who embraces this new era of recruiting. Then, after a few days, details started to slowly slip out. It went something like this. So, turns out Mitch will be hanging around after retirement. Oh yeah? Well, it's always good for stability to have a transition period. How long are we talking? 3, maybe 6 months? No, he'll be here for 4 more years. Alright, that seems a bit excessive. What's he going to do for athletics? What's his new title? Oh yeah, hold on. He's the first executive in residence for the UK Sports and Workforce Initiative. I beg your finest pardon? He does what exactly? Well, it says he focuses on mentoring and creating career pathways in the sports industry, studying the future of intercollegiate sports, and supporting broader workforce development efforts. Okay, so basically after more than 2 decades, Mitch just wants to hang around the university as a luminary, right? How much are we paying him? $950,000 a year plus lifetime tickets to basketball, football, and baseball. What the? As you can imagine, fans are calling this a golden parachute. Barnhart's final act of rewarding loyalty, this time his own. That's not to mention that his retirement is set to take effect in June, and the original trial date for the charges brought back in 2024 was set for June 22nd before recently being postponed. And while it's great to have the Olympic sports funded and competing at a high level, in 24 years, Mitch Barnhart led the most prolific college basketball program in history to 1 national title. And given his relationship with that coach, it almost seems like that championship came in spite of Mitch, not because of him. For many, that will be the legacy. Underachieving in basketball and overpaying in football. Caring more about his reputation among his peers than the fans who built the program. And a lavish retirement amidst dark allegations, all paid for by UK athletics. Now, it's not my program, so why take the time to lay this out? Because I've seen my school embarrass our entire fan base through scandal, mismanagement, and gross incompetence. I know what it's like to be part of an amazing fan base that doesn't deserve to be an afterthought while administrators run amok on our dime. And we're not alone. Consider this. The atrocities that took place at Penn State were horrendous. Something that needed immediate intervention and legal prosecution and all of that. It's horrible. But not one of those 100,000 white-shirted maniacs that fills up their stadium every home game deserved to be betrayed by the program they loved and trusted. A program they invested their time, money, and family memories in. So I'm not here pointing fingers or hoping for downfalls. It's actually the opposite. I'm the kind of fan that thinks the rivalry is best when U of L is ranked first and UK is second. In my world, the Cards would go undefeated and the Cats would have 2 losses. Whenever we play during the season, and when we win the title. Based on our current coaches, we've both got a ways to go. And even though we've looked at some circumstantial evidence, it's hard to really get any kind of a verdict at this point. It's only fair to concede that Mitch may have just been the victim of circumstance and did the best he could with what he had. But when frustrations and concerns have been growing from the fan base, and then word comes out about a 4-year golden parachute, it becomes not only fair, but almost imperative that fans take a closer look at what exactly is going on with the program they've built, loved, and supported. And no matter how this pans out, it's not what the fans deserve. I want to thank you all for stopping by the Fire to hang out. This is just my speculation on the situation so far, and I don't mean any offense by it. I just enjoy exploring conspiracy theories, and with one possibly brewing in my home state about a subject I love like college sports, and during March Madness, I just couldn't resist. But remember, just like I say when talking about secret societies, interdimensional aliens, or even those nuts over at CERN, do your own research and never sell yourself short. Take care out there, and God bless.